galvanized me into the Moorish movement. He said something, he goes, listen, my friend, if I was to write a book on the quote-unquote misnomer Canadian justice system, the title would be, now hear me, Run, Nigga, Run. Did you hear what I said? Edward Sapiano, a lawyer who had big cases and so on and so forth. There's people who I know personally who he's represented, you know. Peace. My name is Lanry Onigbini Bay. Welcome to another episode of Don't Quote Me on 27th Letter Podcast. Anyways, today, tell you a little story. So in 2010, I won my appeal after, on this life sentence, and I was given another chance to go to trial, take the case to trial. Instead of taking the case to trial, I played out because I already did like almost 8 years. Like at this point, I really don't want money from them because that's the only reason why I would want to take it to trial, trying to, you know what I mean, beat the system. So, anyways, I didn't want to take it to trial. I could have taken it back to trial and run the risk of going through, getting convicted again. But they offered me a deal that gave me time served, so which will allow me to get out the day of. So I got out, and in coming out, like I told you in my previous videos, I went to court to support a few of the young gentlemen that was going before the courts for murder trials, and I think was so I got out April 23rd, 2010. So by May, I was back in court, you know what I mean? Going to court regularly. One of the guys that I was going to support, his name is Emmanuel Osei. Usually I don't use names unless it's connected to my case, but or otherwise I use names of people who are deceased. So Emmanuel Osei unfortunately passed away before he even got to the end of his trial. He died of medical conditions in jail. But he was one of the guys I went to go support. And one day I walked in his courtroom, lo and behold, it's the crown from the case I had, murder case that I had in 2004, who was prosecuting this young man for his case. And it was pretty interesting. So I remember during the break, went up to her. Her name is Rita Zaied. Went up to Rita Zaied. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Remember me? I jogged the memory, and she's like, oh yeah. And she straight face looked at me, and she's like, so did you learn your lesson? What do you say to that? I just smiled and just walked away, I smiled and walked away. So this was May 2010. When I was incarcerated, I got into physical fitness, exercises. I know the importance of it, you know what I mean? The dopamine hack you get from just exercising. You could really be depressing in prison if you don't know how to, occupy your time. So in me transitioning back into society and regular life, I kept going to the gym. And one of the gyms I went to was a gym called Good Life. So I went to Good Life, which was 20 minutes from the same area where the incident happened with me. So this is my neighborhood, pretty much. So around almost a year after, exactly a year after I got out, it was Good Friday. I go to the gym that day, and when I entered the gym, it was pretty empty again because it was Good Friday. It was morning time. It was pretty empty. So I walk into the gym, and I look, and Rita Zaied. Right away, our alarm bells went off, so I went to defense, like, I don't know what's going on, like, what kind of sting operation this is. Like, I hadn't seen this lady since that first time I seen her, which is almost a year prior. So we struck up a conversation. The conversation was very innocuous. It was basically her trying to make me feel guilty about what happened. She's trying to tell me about how her life was hard and she had to eat potatoes. Potatoes, like, that's a delicacy from where I come from. Potatoes? Yeah, what? That's what you eat it? Okay. Life will be hard for you. So anyways, the gist of this conversation was getting nowhere, and I was like, I need to get to my workout. And in the end, I just waved bye to her, and she kind of gave me a half-assed wave, like, you know. And the conversation probably lasted maybe 5-7 minutes at the most. So, finished my workout, and she was still in the gym. Waved bye to her again. You know what I mean? And she just looked at me. So, like I said, it was Good Friday, 2011. I had a job where I was working, you know, cleaning, and I got a call. Because on the record, the address I gave him of where I was staying wasn't where I was staying. So this person whose address I used, you know what I mean? She calls me and is like, this is a couple of days after I seen her at the gym, Rita Zaied. She calls me, my friend, says, a couple of cops, a couple of peace officers just came here looking for you. I was like, what? Right away, I got off the phone with her and I called my legal beagle. Back then, I still wasn't on the mortgage stuff where I would, you know what I mean, just handle this situation myself. So I still have my legal beagle, my lawyer, the same one that did the trial for me and whatnot. I called him, I'm like, hey, this is what happened. Find out what's going on. So he calls the station to find out what's going on. Then he calls me back and is like, so there's a warrant out for your arrest? I'm like, what? I'm telling you. This is a prime example of why you need to elect your officials, not just hire them. Because these guys are vindictive. Some of these guys are vindictive. So I don't know, I guess she's upset that I won my appeal, and she sees me in the gym, and if you see me when I first came out, bulked up, you know what I mean, looking really healthy, long locks, I since cut my locks and I grew it back, but when I first came out, we have like almost 8 years of locks growing, you know what I mean? She's not in the greatest shape, she never was, you know, and this lady is known throughout the trial, like, she's known as a barroom brawler, you know. Like, I'll give you an example. I told you I had little to no support during my case. And then in one incident, this is just many of incidents with this lady, you know, during trial. She noticed the mother of my daughter actually came to support me, you know. And, you know, my just going to trial every day, sometimes you just get bored of, you know, let's get to it. Let's get to the end of it. So long and tedious. So, you know, I was a little distracted because the mother of my daughter was there and whatnot, you know, joking around with her, you know, saying hi, whatever. And then this particular day, one of the witnesses that was taking the stand was a girl from the neighborhood who was there that night of when the incident happened with my case. And she really had nothing to say. There was nothing. It wasn't, what she had to say wasn't helping anybody. It wasn't damaging to nothing. It was just the truth. And because there was really nothing to draw from this lady, and this is what she did. Out of nowhere, in the middle of court, the jurors are there. She just made this crazy accusation. Isn't it true? She looks at like the girl in the stand. Isn't it true that you and him have a love affair going? And yo, it was just left field madness. And we all laughed. It was like, what are you talking about? You know, the judge like, stop. Told the jurors to get out. She got addressed for that. Like it was just that bad. So that's the type of person. She just does low-handed, you know what I mean, dirty stuff, you know, trying to elicit reaction, or you know. So this is who she is. She's just not a good person. From what I experienced with her, she's not a good person. You know what I mean? So that's an example. So when I found out I was wanted for, there was a warrant for my arrest. So according to her, to what the charges were, is like intimidation of a piece of a court, of somebody that works in the court, intimidation of somebody that works in the court, or something. I'm like, you're intimidated? Like, I don't know how I intimidated you, because you're the one that could easily just go to the station and file a report, and then now I gotta face charges. Man, I was so upset, and to be quite frank, that incident is what helped galvanize me into the Moorish movement, because I was like, you know what? There's no effing way I'm gonna let this system play me ever again. So after I got the charge, I got arrested, turned myself in, and then got bail. And at that point, that's when I started really getting into the Moorish Stein stuff, in self-governing, defending, you know what I mean, handling my own civics, handling my own cases, and so on and so forth. So for like a year and a half, they tried to get me to plead to this dumb charge, and it was gonna be like suspended sentence, no jail time or anything like that, but they just wanted me to plead to this madness, and I refused. And at that point, I didn't even have a lawyer. I already told my lawyer, don't bother trying to represent me. I'm speaking for myself. The crown for this frivolous charge was like trying to get me to plead, and I refused. They tried to get me to sign a peace bond. I still refused, because I'm like, how come I'm signing a peace bond? Because the whole premise of the peace bond is she doesn't need to sign it. I got to sign it. I'm like, nah, she's got to sign it too. In the end, they dropped the charges. Like, just think about that. So that taught me so much, you know. And then after that, there's no way any lawyer could speak for me in court. You know what I mean? No freaking way. So this brings me to Edward Sapiano. Before I even started going to court, Edward Sapiano is a lawyer who I reached out to, because I was like, I don't know what to do with this lady who's this Rita Zaied. At that point, I had lost all confidence in my lawyer based on obviously the work he's done in the past. And I was like, nah, this lady manhandled you during the murder trial. I don't want you speaking for me and ever again. So I went to Edward Sapiano, and sitting down with him, he was very frank, you know. He was telling me about the court system, and he said something, again, this is what really helped galvanize me into the Moorish movement. He said something, he goes, listen, my friend, if I was to write a book on the quote-unquote misnomer Canadian justice system, the title would be, now hear me, Run, Nigger, Run. Did you hear what I said? Edward Sapiano, a lawyer who had big cases and so on and so forth. There's people who I know personally he's represented, you know. Bro, the man said if he was to write a book on the Canadian justice system, it would be the title would be Run, Nigger, Run. Take it for what it's worth. You decide what you want to do with that information. We allow the system to dictate what happens in our life way too much. You know, these guys are public servants. They work for us. You know what I mean? And it's important that we learn to govern the government. And this starts with us. First of all, don't put yourself in a position where you have to go to court. You know, govern yourself. Please stay out of the way. But there you have it, folks. Run, nigger, run. The title of the book that a lawyer would name his book if he was to write about the Canadian justice system, you know. But yeah, after that, I haven't been to court in years, and you know, it is what it is. Like, I even was, a few years ago, I thought about this documentary that I wanted to film, which was called Your Lawyer Is Not Your Friend. And that came at the heels of that conversation I had with Edward Sapiano, because based on what I experienced with my previous lawyer going to court, and you know, pretty much just getting fed to the wolves, and then just with Rita Zaied and so on and so forth, and other people like myself and who were in my similar position, what they experienced with their lawyer. A lot of people have some not very good things to say about how the lawyer represented them, you know what I mean? Whether they were actually paid or legal aid, it didn't matter. There was, like, the way this system is theater, you know what I mean? A lot of it is theater, and it's unfortunate. And I advise you to vigorously defend yourself. If you are able to, speak for yourself. You know what I mean? Don't let, and if you're going to have a lawyer, don't let your lawyer tell you what to do. You tell your lawyer what to do, okay? No way should your lawyer be leading you in any way. They could advise you, but you know what happened. And if you know you're innocent, do not plea. Too many times people plea because it's easier. Just like me, I could have took when I won my appeal, I could have took that case back to trial, but I pled because it's like I already did so much time out of it, you know. So they put you in a position where you almost got to plea, you know. They have you sit down. Due process is supposed to be within 18 months. Sometimes they don't go to trial till 2 years after you get arrested, you know what I mean, depending how serious your charge is. Some guys have faced going before the courts for like 3 years, 4 years. It's just ridiculous. So due process is usually out the window with these people, and they use that to apply pressure on you so you plead. Because after the first year or the first month or the third month or the second year or the second month, life is going on. The clock don't stop. Your family's out there and you're thinking about going home. And so they'll come to you, and the conviction is all they want, because it helps them go back to the federal government to get more money. Look, we're getting this conviction, but really and truly, you're just coercing people into pleading. You know, if people really wanted, if you give people a chance to defend themselves, a lot more people would. You know what I mean? A lot more people would take it to trial. You know what I mean? And not plea. Okay, that's if you're innocent anyway. And even the people who are innocent, please sometime, because it's just too easy. It's like, I could get out. What do you mean? I could get out right now instead of going back and forth with you guys going to court. You know what? I'm just gonna plead, you know, just to get out. Anyways, check out this next video right here, talking about my life as a parent. You know what I mean? Raising my children, how enriching it is. It's right here somewhere. Click the link right there. All right. Peace.